What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the All In Podcast, a podcast for casual leaguers. I am the League Dad, and I'm joined by my very special friend and co-host, Nighthawk, and we're here to give you all the stuff you need to know about TeamFight Tactics. It is currently patch 9.16. In fact, a small mini patch just dropped about an hour ago, 9.16b, so we'll be talking all about that. But before we begin, just wanted to do a little bit of announcements. The first thing is that it's actually kind of like a bulletin. We are actually looking for more TeamFight Tactics co-hosts, and so if that's something you might be interested in, if you have a lot of insight into the game, if you can communicate well, have a microphone and a face cam, and don't mind being on stream, the podcasts are every Tuesday, usually at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if that's a time that you can commit to on a pretty regular basis, then feel free to let us know. You can email us at theallinpodcastlol@gmail.com. Tweet us at the All In Podcast, or you can join our Discord. But yeah, just trying to add more hosts in the mix, just because with people's schedules, especially with fall coming up, we just want to make sure we can have a good rotation of co-hosts. That way we're always full of beautiful minds here contributing to the show and giving you guys all the good content. Nighthawk, how are you doing? How are your games going? Let us know how everything is and what you're currently having fun with in Teamfight Tactics.
I'm doing great. I've been trying out a lot of different things since Hextech launched. Hextech really shook up the meta, kind of like how we talked about.
Yep.
It really put a damper on all those comps that kind of relied on one unit with like 12 items, 12 items.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So we've seen a lot of complaining, and we've seen a lot of experimentation on how to play around it. It seems like the community has reached a sort of equilibrium where it's able to be played around if you position correctly, and then there's some other things you can do. Not stacking all your items on one character helps up a little bit. But they don't have any planned changes for Hextech yet, so we'll have to see if they are going to nerf it a little bit or what they're going to do to it. There were a few changes to Vi and Jinx today, though, so that kind of nerfs Hextech because they're both Hextech units. Yeah. So we'll have to see what they come from there. My game's been going pretty good. I've been trying out every patch that comes out. I try to make wild shapeshifter Yordle work. So,
Gots
this
to.
Patch not great.
Yeah.
Demons are strong.
Mm-hmm.
Hextech is good.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to play shapeshifters into either of those because they're item reliant and they're mana reliant. So Not wild shapeshifters Day to Shine yet, but maybe one day.
I mean, I think I've been trying to play that comp too because I love it. It just for whatever reason just doesn't. I can get the pieces together. Sometimes I can get some of the items going, but it just doesn't seem to fare as well as some of these other top tier builds, namely Jinx and with Hextech. It's just I've seen Jinx, Blade Master, Hextech. It's Gunslinger. It's just insane. Like Jinx does so much damage. Not to mention the Hextech. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad to see that they're maybe trying to nerf not just her, but maybe Hextech in general. Like you mentioned, and we talked about this last week, Hextech seems to have thrown a wrench into all of our plans because it kind of is one of those things that makes the game not so fun when you're playing against it. And it's also very like, it adds another element of RNG, right? Because I know there have been games where if my Hextech gets that carry, I win. And if my Hextech doesn't get that champion with the items, I lose. And so it's almost like, oh gosh, I hope like I can get the right Hextech on. So it just seems to add a little more randomness to it. And overall, I think you're right when you say that it's kind of at an equilibrium. People are starting to figure out that you can play around it. It's a little bit trickier with positioning your units. You can spread them out a little bit, not put all your items on one unit and that sort of thing. But again, it's still one of those comps that you have to scout out and make sure and see who's playing it so that you can adjust accordingly. But yeah, it's good to hear that. My game's the same way. I haven't actually played on my main because I'm still kind of worried with the Hextech introduction and everything like that to continue climbing. But anyways, like you said, there's a new patch today, so we'll go ahead and jump right into that. Anything you wanted to add before we get in here? Any thoughts as the gameplay at the current moment?
I just wanted to say, expand on the how to play against Hextech if you're struggling with it. We talked about it a little bit last week, but try putting one item. It doesn't have to be a good item, just any item. Put them on a couple different units and put them around the map. They don't have to be like carry units. They don't have to be really good items, but it can really mess up the Hextech grenade, because if you have like 4 items spaced along the map, and there's only one Hextech grenade, you have a 1 in 4 chance of getting the like Hextech grenade on your bad carry or your really good carry. So you have a really good chance of not actually getting screwed over by the Hextech every round. So that's always a good idea. You usually have at least one, and it will attack any item, not just completed items. Yeah. So you can put literally like a Negatron cloak on your Warwick or something, and there's a chance that it will go after that.
That's true.
Instead of your Rune's Hurricane, Spear of Sojin, Rapid Fire Cannon, Ash in the back.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good tip for sure. It just sucks still that you have to use an item kind of as a decoy, because items are still very hard to come by. I do like the fact that they've added more completed items in the game, especially towards the later rounds. It kind of it's nice. You know? Yeah, so you've noticed it, right? It feels good because it kind of like...
So we talked about... You said that last week, and I hadn't noticed it until you said anything, but yeah, you're absolutely right. It wasn't in the patch notes, but Riot confirmed that they massively increased the amount of completed items in later carousel rounds. So
yeah, so it's pretty neat because it changes, it makes some of the comps come together, and usually the items are decent enough to where you can use it. So it's made the late game a little more interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I've been having a lot of fun with the game, just trying out different things, different strategies. Since I'm playing on my Smurf, I really don't care. So I'm playing all sorts of stuff and just trying different things. What I found is still like, because there are times when I really want to just force comps, right? Like I always, like I read somebody. Go ahead. Yeah, let me hear your thoughts on this. Yeah.
Why don't you just play normals on your main account?
Yeah,
or do you think that the normal scene isn't as competitive?
That's how I feel. I feel like if I play normals, people are just, they don't care, right? And so I may get first place or second place, but nobody's really trying. At least, even though my Smurf is like in silver, it's like people are trying in ranked. You know what I mean? At least that's the thought behind it. And
I can see that.
So that's the only reason I do it, because I want to see if my strategies will actually work in an actual competitive environment. But like I said, I've been trying different things, like trying to force early comps like gunslingers, because gunslingers can be a little easy to get, easier I think, and transitions have been my hardest thing to learn. Like I do really well in the early game. I can accumulate win streaks. I can put early comps together. But I tell you what, when it gets mid game and late game, I just am always too late, or I just don't transition at the right time. And I don't move into more of a late game comp. And I find myself always kind of exiting right around 4th or 5th. And it's so tilting when you're just like, or you play the one guy who you could beat you and you're just like, no. So that's kind of been my experiences as of late. But anyways, let us know how your games are going. Yeah, go ahead.
I also have a really hard time exiting the early game. I think the hardest thing in the game is learning when to sell those 1-cost units, or like even the bad 2-cost units. Yeah. Even if you have if you're sitting on a Warwick with 4 more Warwicks on your bench and you're like this close to a level 3 Warwick,
I know.
If it's not like really fitting into your comp, a 3-star 1-cost unit is not that good.
No, it's not.
With the maybe with the exception of like a Bane or something like that, you probably don't want that in your late game comp. So, and
you got to look at where you're at too in the game, because your chances are lower the higher level you are. So if you're hanging on for that 1-star unit, learning to let go for sure. I think for me it's more of like assembling the composition. Like, okay, I get early like Knights, Rangers, or something like that. What am I planning to go though? Like, I find myself always gravitating towards like a traditional like ranged carry and frontline, because it's just what I know. Like, so it's brawler gunslingers or ranger knights or something like that, because it's just easy for me to understand. And I find myself less and less playing like sorcerers and demons and yordles, and those are things that I want to play. I just never find myself getting into those comps, and so those are things that I'm trying to stretch myself on, keeping all options open, because I really think that you are a better player when you know all the options. And so no matter what the carousels are bringing or the rounds are bringing, you kind of have an idea of where you can go depending on what you're drawing and what items you're getting. So that's kind of what I'm working on. But again, it's a whole comprehensive game, and as it gets bigger, I can only imagine it getting even more complex. But it's an exciting time. So let's just go ahead and jump right into this mini patch right now. Again, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I didn't even know they were releasing this today. So literally an hour or so ago, it just went live before this podcast. But have you gotten a chance to read over it? Was there anything that stuck out to you?
I read over it a bit. Another brawler nerf. Another one.
Yep.
We had a pretty big brawler nerf last patch, and right off the bat, here's another one. 6 brawler gets knocked down from 600 health to 500 extra health.
Yeah. Yep. That's a lot.
They also knocked 50 health off of 3 brawlers, and then 1,000 or 100 health off of 9 brawlers. So
yeah. Yeah. I think you mean 6 brawlers for the 900 health.
Wait, it's wait, how many brawlers do you need for 250?
250. 3, right? No, it's so it's 2, 4, and 6. Yep, that's why brawlers are so good. Yeah, I'm pretty positive. You might be thinking Blade Masters.
Wait, hold up. I have to look this up real quick because
look it up.
Brawlers are 369, unless I'm absolutely insane.
Only reason I'm pretty sure is because I just played it.
Oh yeah,
with 6 brawlers.
Right.
Yep, 2, 4, 6. Yeah, yep. So 2.
So that means I played a bad game yesterday because I had 3 brawlers the entire time.
Dude, I've done the same thing. Yeah, no, you got to make sure that you're at the right tiers, because if not, you could have a wasted synergy going on. But yeah, it's 2, 4, 6.
Random volley there and like.
Yeah, that's so funny. Hey, see, look, even the host learned something while you're on the show, so that's why. Yeah, you gotta look at those synergies, man. But yeah, so exactly. So they did nerf it, and even with the nerf, like I said, I just played one, which I'm assuming was on the live patch, and Brawler seems still pretty strong. You know, like I don't know what exactly it is about what makes it so strong. It's just maybe all that extra health, and there are things that you can counter it, like red buff or Morellos or stuff like that, but.
I think it might be just because brawlers in general, the characters are just really good.
Yeah. Plus, they bring CC to the mix, right?
Yeah. CC is really important in TFT, especially at the moment when the game is like you said, it kind of revolves around getting that ranged carry in the back and sort of hoping that it pops off. Like a Draven or a Jinx or a Tristana or whatever you want to go for. So yeah, CC is definitely really important.
Yeah, and if you think about it, almost all the brawlers have a CC move, an AOE CC, you know, to top it off. So that's except for Warwick's, excuse me, and who's the other? And Volley probably are the only 2 that maybe don't do AOE CC, but. You know, there's still CC and Blitz is correct.
If you have glacial volleys, it's kind of like
there you go. Yeah.
AoE stuns sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think I don't know. I think it's the combination of being tanky with the CC. It's just enough to disable the enemy teams for your carries to do some damage. And I know a popular thing right now is running 6 brawlers and a carry, and that's exactly what I ran last game was 6 brawlers and Jinx with the Hextech. You know, with the Vi. So. Brawlers, I think, have been strong. I think they are trying to tone that down a bit, but we'll have to see if it actually shifts the meta. So just be aware of that. Brawlers getting nerfed. It might not be the last one. I know on the PBE list that you sent me, that it was, I don't know if it's the same nerf, but it looked like there was something that they were nerfing as well. Some more with Brawlers.
Those changes I sent you, those are tentative for 9.17.
Yeah,
those will probably go out next week if they do.
Yeah, so probably a trend of trying to fine-tune the brawlers. Let's go to the champion. So here are some champion nerfs. Draven, who we were just talking about, health has gone from 700 to 650 and attack damage 75 to 70. I mean, I guess that's good. You know, it's a good little just nudge, I guess, but I don't know.
It does affect him a little bit more because generally speaking, you either run Draven with a lot of good items or Imperial buff. So Imperial buff is double damage, so you lose 10 instead of 5. But yeah, I don't think this really kills Draven. He'll still be very good. He'll still be like the good carry unit if you can't get a Jinx, which brings us into the next part of the
Jinx having a nerf. And it's fitting that these 2 are the first ones because these have kind of been the carries, right, of this patch, it seems like. So Jinx, her ability bonus attack speed has gone from 0.75 at level 1, or 1.0 at level 2 and 1.25 at level 3. Now it's 0.6, 0.8, and 1. The rocket damage was 100 at level 1, 225 at level 2, and 350 at level 3. Now it's 100, 200, and 300. So damage has gone down. Attack speed has gone down a little bit because she is kind of that champ that if she activates, she's just carrying. Same with Draven. If you let him go, he's going to be doing tons of damage. So it seems like they're trying to tone that down just a bit. So I think it's in the right areas. We'll have to see if it actually makes a difference. I just played with the Jinx carry, and it was still with the right items, still very hard to stop, which is, I don't think they want to stop that completely, right? You want champs that are like that, but I think, you know, they're tuning in the right direction, I think. So,
yeah. And it's very interesting because it seems to me like they put a lot more emphasis on these 4-cost units in terms of being like the carry unit, the cornerstone for your team, than they do for 5-cost units. And I think that might be because you get them a little bit earlier, so they
that's a good point.
To be able to, like, they want you to be able to round out your comp a little bit sooner than getting to level 6 or 7 to get that 5-cost.
And I think that's
all the 5-costs. All the 5-costs are good, but they're not like the cornerstone of your team usually.
And they're still sometimes not good to put in unless you get it to a level 2, right? So sometimes just having it level 1, it's still not worth it to put that 5-cost unit in unless you get. So you're still holding on to them in the beginning because it's just not going to be strong right away. Some comps it might be, like if it has a perfect synergy and something, then it could work. But I think that's why like the 4-stars are so, you know, constantly you talk about Cho'Gath as well. That's kind of a corner piece, like people getting the Brawlers. So I do agree, like people get it earlier, and by that point, if you're trying to wait to build your comp around a 5-star, it's going to be too late. And so I think 4 cost is probably like the centerpiece of where people start to kind of figure out what they're going to do. And so it makes sense that's where a lot of the focus is on Draven and Jinx. I don't know what they do about that though, you know, moving forward, like, because there are really, like, if you think about the 4-cost units, what other carries are there, right? It's Jinx, Draven, and Jinx if you're going Draven, Brawlers, if you're going Brawlers,
pretty good in
Assassins.
You have Aurelion Soul, which is a really nice sorcerer. You have Brand, who I think is completely underrated right now. He received a pretty massive buff last patch. I think Brand's insane right now. It's just really hard to fit him into a comp because demons are good, elementalists are okay, but by the time you get to Brand, you already have probably your demons. You probably already have your Aatrox and your Varus. And unless you're going for 2 more, it kind of feels awkward to slot in another one. Then you have Cho'Gath, like you said, excellent unit for Brawlers, good CC. Gnar, he's okay. He kind of struggles from being wild shapeshifter, which is not the best synergies right now. Really good unit if he gets to ult, but sometimes he just doesn't ult.
It just takes a while.
It takes a while. Kindred, Kindred's sort of like a weird thing as well. She struggles. Phantom is really, really strong, so any Phantom unit kind of has to be weak. Except for maybe Karthus, I guess. And Rangers are a little awkward right now too, so I would consider her probably the weakest 4-cost unit.
I was gonna say that,
and then you have. Oh she's definitely weak in terms of the 4-costs.
I was just gonna say, like, it just basically activates the if you're planning to go Rangers, it's kind of like that's the one you're waiting for, right? Because you have 3, you have the Ashe, Varus, and Vayne, and you're just kind of waiting for that Kindred, right? Because it all kind of hangs on that, because that's the 4th Ranger if you're planning to go like a 4 Ranger comp. So, and then
she fits well with Knights as well, because Mordekaiser is obviously a Phantom Knight, so.
Definitely
really good for her to go in there. But I wouldn't consider her insanely strong individually. And then Leona is just a guardian, and guardians are good. So also a noble. Nobles are good too.
Noble. So Nobles got nerfed, but they're still from all accounts seem to be pretty good still. Again, if you can pull it off, it's always like one of those things where I'm like, do I hang on to this 1-star Fiora just in case? Because you're like, you know, if you get that Kale, it's almost like, all right, let's activate. But anyways, speaking
I really like the idea of Nobles because it gives you just enough space in your comp to fit in.
It does.
2 really fun units, and then 3 if you can get to 9. Not many people get to 9 these days. But like you can go Nobles plus dragons, you can go like nobles plus Imperials, nobles plus gunslingers. There's a lot of good synergies you can slot into nobles, which is what makes them really well.
Yep. All right. Well, speaking of nobles, Kale. So Kale got nerfed. So shield duration was 2, and then 3, and then 4. Now it's 2, 2.5, and 3. So a little bit less time on the shield. It is pretty annoying when you're about to kill them all, and then Kale, and then at a 2-star Kale, she heals 2 people at the same time.
2 units. Yeah.
So that can be pretty devastating. She kind of reminds me of like the Janna or the Nami or the the Enchantress supports, where you're just like, I got you. You're like, nope. Kale's like, nope, sorry.
Yeah. And her AI is usually really, really good. So she normally shields the perfect targets. Yeah. Which is even more frustrating.
Yep. Okay. Lucien. Lucien's ability damage was 150, 250, and 350. Now it's 100, 225, and 350. That's pretty big at level 1.
This is funny to me. Yeah. Was anyone really out here saying, "Oh man, Lucien"? No.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's destroying me. In Gunslingers, it's always Jinx that you're complaining about.
Exactly.
And in Nobles, it's always Kale that you're complaining about. Yeah. So. What exactly did Lucien do? I think this is just Riot's way of hitting both gunslingers and nobles without like doing anything to the specific units. They're just saying, "Hey, Lucien's a little bit weaker now." So
but that's the thing. Like Lucien is a really good early game unit on his own. Like you don't necessarily even have to have the gunslinger bonus to have him. He fits into nobles, which is also really nice early on, right? So maybe just because he gets good synergies early. With either gunslinger or nobles, maybe they're trying to tweak him down a bit. And you put a freaking static shiv on him, and he's like carrying at least a few rounds on him. So maybe they're trying to do it in that sense. But either way, early, his damage has been nerfed early on for 1-star and 2-star. So be aware of that. Vi. So now we were just talking about Vi. Vi is pretty strong as a brawler. I mean, she's got a lot of good CC and damage. So her mana was 150 or 50. And 125. Now it's 75 and 150. So
this change is just to nerf follow-up ults from Vi.
Okay.
So it's slightly harder to get a second ult off on Vi. And I don't think usually you're not really getting second ults off on Vi unless maybe you're stacking her with mana items like a Sojin and something like that.
Yeah.
But I guess this is just one of those changes to make sure that it doesn't happen unless you're specifically going for it.
Yeah, it is pretty frustrating.
Very, very good.
Yeah, it's a great ult. All right, let's go on to Aatrox. So now these are champion buffs. So Aatrox is getting a buff. Is that right?
Yeah.
How is he getting a buff? Because
it's only a buff at 1-star. So I guess it's fine. Okay, but Aatrox is a very, very, very strong unit right now.
Yeah.
So
that is weird. I don't know why.
Going.
Yeah, and
Blade
he fits into
really good.
Yeah, exactly.
Blade Master really good.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like he fits into like 2 of the best comps right now. So I'm like, I'm not really sure that he needed a buff, but I guess you could say a 1-star Aatrox was a little underwhelming, but still, like it's not that hard to make him a 2-star.
Yeah, definitely not. And his ult still does a massive amount of damage if you put some AP items on him. 600 damage in a 1-hex AoE. It will decimate any frontline early game.
Yep. I remember making him an assassin one time and having like Seraphs and some other AP items. So he would jump to their backline and then almost instantly just ult and like wipe out the whole backline. It was such a beautiful thing to watch.
Okay, so the reason Aatrox kind of made a resurgence because he was pretty bad for a while after the demon nerfs a few patches ago. They reworked how demons work, so now they steal mana on him instead of just happing mana.
It's so
Aatrox he ults a lot faster now.
Oh yeah,
he can get to his ult super quickly,
super fast. Yeah, I just played a game and he literally ulted 3 times in the span of like 3 seconds. I was watching him and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm just watching him take down all of my units. So it's definitely a strong unit, and so I don't know. I don't think these buffs make too big of a difference. He's still gonna be strong, but I don't think this buffs him crazily. Anyways, maybe you can get an early 3 Blade Master synergy and it might be a little stronger. So anyways, let's go to Naevia. So health 650 going up to 700. A little bit of a buff there on the health. I mean, I don't really know what that accomplishes.
I never
Was
really
she squishy?
I never really understand these changes. Like 50 health is going to do, I guess maybe it makes you survive some like some abilities a little bit better. Maybe she won't get sniped by Varus arrows anymore, or won't get one shot by like a Aatrox ult. Yeah. But I don't know. It does seem like an odd change to me.
And I mean that at that point of the game, 50 damage is like not. That's like
you
just breathe on somebody. It's like 50.
That's like one AoE splash.
If Naevia gets hit, you're like it's pretty much dead, because that means they're going to be killing you quickly. Anyway, so they buffed up our health a little bit. Maybe it makes a difference for all you Naevia players out there. Maybe you can let us know if you're like, no, this actually makes a difference. Let us know, because we're dumb. So, all right, let's go to Gnar. The bonus attack damage on transform was 30, 60, and 90. Now it's 50. 100 and 150. That's quite a big buff. If he can ult, if he can transform,
I was about to say that. This is great. But Gnar was already like such a good unit if he ults. But the problem is he's not ulting all the time.
And that's what I wonder. Like I feel like this is the wrong direction for him. It should be like somewhere on that transform time. I know that's tricky, because if it's too early, then he's OP, right? But trying to find at least that point.
Yeah, I saw some tweaks from Riot More on Twitter. He said he was looking at decreasing his mana cost from 125 to 100, which would definitely help out a little bit. But it didn't go through this patch, so we'll either see it next patch or maybe it got scrapped.
Maybe that'll be our time to bring out the shapeshifters, because I've been wanting to build it.
That will be the time.
And I got to tell you, I think it's kind of a bait, because Jace is out now. So it's like you can get that 3 shapeshifter comp early on. So I'm like, all right, I could just build shapeshifters, late game, and switch these out with like, Shyvana and Swain and Gnar. And you're just like, all right. But then it just kind of a letdown. So maybe this will be shapeshifter's time to shine once Gnar gets buffed on that transformation time. Hopefully that happens. One day. And then people will complain about it. But until then, at least they're giving him something, some kind of love. All right, let's see. Now, this is a good question. So, Shadow Master asked in chat, can you get Gnar to transform faster with mana items? Because doesn't he need his
mana to transform? So, if you put 2 Seraphs and a Demon on him, or 3 Seraphs,
then he can transform.
He would instantly transform.
Okay.
But remember that Gnar can only ult once, so mana items on him are kind of a waste. I guess if you if your whole entire game plan revolved around getting Gnar to transform, it might be a good idea. But I would probably just put like a Frozen Heart on him, and then maybe one other mana item on him, and that will help him get there a little bit quicker.
Yep, good point. All right, let's go to Miss Fortune. So she's getting buffed. She got buffed a little bit last patch, but now her ability damage was 800, 1250, and 1700. Now it's 900, 1300, 1700. I really like this. I like this that they're buffing her early. I do think they still need to fix her aiming.
Yes. So I was watching your stream before.
Did you see it? Gosh.
And you're 100% correct. This is the problem with Miss Fortune. She doesn't ult the right units. Yeah. Every good AoE ult in this game has a very nice targeting algorithm where it will target the most amount of people. Pike ult is very good because it will stun as many people as possible.
That's great, yeah.
Naevia ult usually lands on really good things. Cho'Gath ult usually lands on really good things. But Miss Fortune ults the last unit she was attacking. And most of the time that just ends up ulting one unit off in the corner or some random crap.
Yeah. So, I think with her, you got to be careful with your positioning for sure, because like you said, if it's in the wrong spot, good luck. And that's just a wasted ult, right? But go ahead.
What were you saying? I think we're going to see eventually an AI fix for her. Yeah. And then people are going to be like, oh my gosh, Miss Fortune's so strong. Because they have given her so many buffs over the past few months. Yeah. Because she's so weak, because her ult doesn't target the right thing.
Yeah, I just it's pretty interesting to me. Speaking of, okay, I don't know how this just related in my head right now, but I'm gonna say it anyway. So Miss Fortune's pirate, right? Gunslinger, so is Gangplank. But Gangplank is also a freaking Blade Master. And I was thinking about this when I was trying to build a comp with Katarina in it. Shouldn't Katarina be a Blade Master? I mean, I feel like she's an Imperial Assassin, But daggone it, she's got daggers. She should be a blade master, right? If,
look, I think
if Gangplank's a blade master, go ahead. Right?
Really, the only reason they want to do that is because of Draven.
That's what I'm saying.
Masters would probably be too strong.
Heck
but
yeah.
We could probably go on for an hour and a half about all the units in this game that are either miscategorized or missing something. I'm
just nitpicking. I don't even know why that came in, but I had that thought in my head. But I think you're right. Imperial Blade Masters would be you'd be instantly you'd be like, where'd my units go? Like they're all dead.
All my units
so yeah.
Also, an assassin that could attack him multiple times with Blade Master. Oh my gosh,
that'd be
spooky.
Yeah, it's probably for the best, but still, I was just thinking about that. All right, let's go to Morgana. Sorry, side thought. Okay, armor gone up from 20 to 30. Okay, that helps when she's trying to channel her ult. Ability damage, it's gone from 200, 325, 450. Now it's 175, 300, 425. So they nerfed her damage, but they buffed her armor.
So very slight nerf to the damage. Morgana is going to be still okay as a frontline. It's because the reason you use Morgana is you either use her as an assassin counter, you put her back near your carries to protect them, or you use her as a frontline CC unit, sort of like
cannon,
like a Sejuani or a cannon. Yeah, exactly, cannon. But I don't think she's very good. I think that. I don't think that the ability damage nerf was probably needed with the armor buff.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of that, no, I won't say it. I was going to talk about Karthus because of that channel time, but it's not important. Yeah. Okay, let's go to Shen. Health has gone up from 650 to 700. I think this makes a difference. Because it's an early game, champ, right? And Shen is already annoying as it is with his ultimate not being able to hit him, especially in the early game. I feel like a lot of people who do build like a gunslinger or some kind of ranger attack, this kind of blocks them, and then for him to have more health too, it definitely make him an early game good unit. Yeah, early game. Go ahead.
I would honestly say that Shen is probably the best unit to have before round before stage 2 or 3. I think that if you have him in your lineup, it's an instant win in almost every single early round. One, because he's a ninja, so he gets 50 extra AD. So he literally has the most AD of any unit in the game at 1 star. Any unit, even a 5-star unit, he'll have more AD. So that's crazy. Unless not counting other ninjas, obviously. And also he has that huge AoE dodge, like you said, which early game a lot of the damage comes from auto attacks. So. Dodging auto attacks for 3 seconds or however long it is can really win you
big.
around. So
I would say him and probably Braum. Him and Braum kind of have that because it's the same kind of thing, right? When Braum puts his shield up, he's mitigating all that damage. So in the same sense, I feel like Shen is that same kind of tank.
And also Shen's a blade master. So you put in Shen, Fiora, and Aatrox, all of a sudden you've got 3 blade masters. Easy.
People have been sleeping on my Fiora, man, but I've been putting a rapid fire cannon, a rage blade, and a static shift, and then I just swap her out for Yasuo later, and I'm telling you, it's just it's pretty insane.
Fiora but with noble buff, she does not die. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's and I just love watching her attack so fast. She's like, bing, 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 and then she's just freaking reposting everything. And so anyways, that's my Fiora rant. Believe in Fiora. I believe in her. I've ventured to say, going on this rant a little bit, that Fiora is a pretty darn good early game because not a lot of people pick her up, and I feel like you can get 2-star easily. You put an attack speed item just like a static shiv, which is good early game already. You're winning some rounds. I just think she's a lot better than people might give her credit for. All right, let's go to items.
Because Blade Masters are finally starting to shine.
Exactly. Yep.
I think that she's definitely a good pickup.
Yep. All right, let's go to items. So just Luden's Echo, they nerfed the damage from 200 to 180, and Luden's was a pretty strong item. I was using it a lot. People were building it on Lucien, but you could build it on pretty much any AoE or any kind of AP damage. I mean, people would build it on Varus, anything. So they're just nerfing that damage a little bit.
I'm sad that they nerfed this because Luden's was a really fun item to put on certain champions. It probably did deserve a nerf because this is the problem that happens a lot in TFT. You'll have 3 or 4 units that just absolutely abuse the mess out of an item.
Yeah.
And then the item like only average to good on everyone else. So items have to get nerfed because of like 3 to 4 really strong champions. We saw it with Morellos. We saw it with Guardian Angel. We saw it with what was that? Ionic Spark.
Oh yeah,
people are still stacking it. Nerfed a lot.
Yeah,
Locket.
People are still stacking it. Yep.
Locket is been nerfed.
Yep.
It's interesting. I wish that they wouldn't take such a heavy-handed approach to nerfing items so much, but I don't know what you can really do to keep them from being abused.
Yeah. All right. And then finally, just some bug fixes. So there was a bug where the matchmaking wasn't quite fixed. So they said that you wouldn't play like the same person twice, but it was still happening. So, you know, if you were playing the first place person and you were really weak, you could end up playing that person again and just get knocked out. So they've apparently, it says they've fixed some adjustments so that you shouldn't be seeing that as often. So we'll have to see if that actually.
They're still not completely happy with the system, but continue tinkering with it.
Come on, right? Y'all just messed it up.
I don't know how hard it can be to make a system that literally doesn't allow you to match against the same person over and over again, but I'm not a developer, so I won't say anything.
Yeah. And then finally, the Hextech trait now disables Ionic Spark for the appropriate 8 seconds instead of the whole round. I guess that was a bug.
Yeah.
Talk about annoying. It's already annoying. But, man, having that disabled the whole, you know, especially if you were stacking Ionic Spark, it's just disabled the whole, the whole round.
Like last patch, where if you got grievous wounds when your unit was Guardian Angeling, the angel or the unit just wouldn't revive. It would just die.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate for grievous wounds or for Guardian Angel stackers.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's pretty much the patch. It's just a B patch, so it's nothing big or anything, but good to know if you're heading into ranked or anything before you do, just remember some of these changes. So what I want to kind of transition into now is maybe just talk about some of the resources that, I don't know if you use any. I use a bunch, because I love the game, so I'm always like looking at stuff. But maybe we could share with some of our listeners, some of the things that we like using to help us with our games, and just basically share the info love, so that they can check it out as well. Do you have anything off the top of your list that you like to reference that maybe our listeners might like?
So I'll sound like a shill, but Blitz Esports app, it's been getting a little bit of traction recently. It had a little bit of a rocky start because they had a lot of technical issues for the past few months, but right now it's working fine. It is by far the best companion app for League that I've seen in a hot minute.
Nice.
It has a mode for both Teamfight Tactics and League of Legends, so you can use it for either. It has an overlay in-game that will tell you what percentage chance you have to get units at a certain level. So like you're like, oh, I'm level 4. What percentage chance do I have to get
that's
this,
great.
Like this Gnar that I need or something like that. So you can literally just click on it and you'll see, oh, I have a 3% chance. So maybe I don't want to roll too much. They have a little thing on the top left that shows you what item, like an item calculator. So you can see what items build out of what. So you don't have to constantly tab out and look at that. And then on top of that, they have a dedicated match history. Which I still don't think League has for TFT. Yeah, I don't think they have they don't have match history yet for TFT. So
it's really
if you wanted to go back and look at your comps, it shows you what units you have, who you matched against, all the sorts of stuff. Really, really nifty stuff. So it's the Blitz app.
Blitz.
Check it out.
Blitz.gg. Okay, and so it's an app.
Blitz.gg, not .com.
Blitz.gg. All right, that's great because I've been looking for something for like an overlay. This doesn't run on Overwolf, does it?
No, it's just it's a separate app.
That's cool because Overwolf for some reason bugs out with my game, so maybe I'll have to give that a try.
I'm not
That's
a big
pretty
fan
neat.
of Overwolf.
Yeah, me neither because it doesn't work. So, but I'll have to try that out.
Huh? Real quick, they have a little thing in the thing where it will tell you your average places out of the last 10 matches.
Hey, that's perfect.
I've averaged a 4th place.
There you go. You're right on the cusp. You're right on the cusp of being good. I'm just kidding. That's what it's telling you. It's like, you're right on the cusp. Gosh, I'd be scared to look at mine. But anyways, it would be good to know, if you need to improve or not. Cool. Any other things you want to share off the top of your head? Or is that like your main one? Do you got any sites that you like to go to?
For TFT,
Yeah.
If I ever have to look up stats for units, I use it's called TeamFight Tactics.gg. It's just TFT.
Yep.
TFTactics.gg. It has all of the stats for units, so you can see like how much damage their ults do, how much mana they need, their attack range. It has pretty much everything you'd ever want to know about a unit. So that's useful if you're looking at something. It even has suggested item builds for units, but I don't think it's very well thought out.
Updated.
Sometimes
if
they don't have a good item, they'll just say like 3 static shivs. So sometimes I wouldn't go at it as gospel, but it's a good site for learning about different units.
That's cool. Yeah, for me, I use a couple of things. So one, I guess the best thing that I like doing is just watching streamers play it. So definitely Skara and Disguised Toast and Hafu are probably the ones that I watch the most. And the reason being is they're good, yes, but there's a lot of good players out there, right? But what I like about them is they put out a video like every day, if not multiple ones. So there's always gameplay to watch. And what I'm looking for is, what their thought processes are and seeing how they transition. So that's really helped me. But also I like to go to mobalytics.gg. They have a thing for League, but they also now have something for TFT. And under there, and I'll post a link here, here's a direct link, but basically if you're listening to this, you can just go to tft.mobalytics.gg, and there's a thing there called guides, and then you can go to TFT articles, and it's always updated. And these are from like challenger players that are really high ranked. And I love it because they always update this, but you'll see a tier list for champions, which is nice. You'll also see an item tier list, best combos and item, like best components. And then you'll also, what I go to the most is best TFT comps. And this is really cool. And I like this a lot. In fact, I reached out to the main author because I was like, this is pretty cool. I want to, reach out to him and see if he could, come on the show or something. I haven't heard back from him yet, but I'm going to keep on trying. But what's nice, and I'll post the direct link here in the chat. But this is cool. It basically tells you the top comps and when you should make it and your game plan. Right? Because a lot of times the early games are different. So depending on what you get, this can tell you kind of what comps it can transition into, and what items are good on each person. So I really like it a lot, and I go to it and reference it a lot. So it's tft.mobalytics.gg. Just go to TFT, go to guides, articles, and you'll see all the stuff there. So that's something that I really like. And then another thing that I like to use is, so there's this site called TFT Paths. It's pretty new, but if you're like me, my biggest struggle is that, when I start having an early game out, or early comp out, I'm always trying to figure out, okay, where am I transitioning this into? Like, I can't keep this comp forever. And what's nice about this site is you can click on the champions that you have, and it'll automatically highlight the ones that it has synergy with. So let's say you have 2 gunslingers and 2 knights. It'll show you all the different champions that can synergize with it. That way you're not thinking too hard, or not having to think too hard as to what champs go with what, because with the different origins and classes, sometimes you can forget, especially if you're newer to the game. So I really like this a lot because you can see quickly what champions go with the ones that you currently have, so that you can build and transition smoothly. So that's tftpaths.com. And so those are 2. We're not sponsored or anything by that, but I wouldn't mind being sponsored. Blitz.gg, Mobalytics. I reached out to Mobalytics too. I was like, hey, let's see if we can do something, but still no word, and that's okay. If you guys are from Mobalytics and you're listening to this, reach out to me. We'd love to work with you. But anyways, those are the resources that I'm using at the moment. Was there anything else that you had, Nighthawk, or were those the 2 main ones? Okay, cool. All right, so cool. All right, so last thing I want to talk about today before we wrap out is just a little bit of strategy talk. Is there anything in particular that you've been trying out, or anything that you've been exploring or struggling with, or things that you're trying to get better at, that we could possibly discuss? If not, I have something I could discuss, but I wanted to see if there's anything in particular that you wanted to talk about regarding strategy in the current meta.
Like I said, I think Blade Masters are really strong, so I think they're pretty easy to force to, just because there's so many good ones on the ladder right now.
Yeah.
So you can usually slot 3 Blade Masters into most comps.
Yep.
And if you can get yourself a Blader and King, which will make any unit a Blade Master, put it on a unit like Vayne or Jinx or Draven. Or you don't need it on Draven because he's already a Blade Master, but put it on one of your hyper carries. That benefits from attacking quickly, and it will amaze you. It also pairs very well with Static Shiv, so keep that in mind.
Absolutely. Yep. I've played Jinx with Blade Master. Oh my gosh, it is very fun to watch the other team melt. But yeah, that's pretty good. For me, I have a couple of possible tips for you guys if you didn't know this already. Sometimes and I'm only saying this because I was playing earlier, and I had Style in the game with me, and he doesn't really play a lot of TFT. So some of the things I was saying, he was like, "What is that? What are you talking about?" And so I want to mention some of the things that maybe you knew and were doing subconsciously already, or maybe you didn't know this at all. But these are just little tips and tricks that you can do in the game so that you're playing optimally. So one thing is to make sure that if you're rolling down, and what I mean by rolling down is, let's say you're at a point where right now you need to upgrade your units. So you're looking for specific units. You already know the comp that you're making. You know what units you need. And so all you're doing is you're spending gold to re-roll and get these units. What you want to do, instead of just hitting reroll all the time, is you want to make sure that whatever cost unit you're looking for, for example, let's say you're looking for a Warwick, right? It's early game. You're looking for a Warwick to make a level 2. What you're going to want to do is buy up all the 1-star units in the rack before you reroll. And what this does is just it increases your probabilities that you'll pull a Warwick out because you've taken other 1-cost units out of the picture, right? So it eliminates the chance of you drawing them on the next roll. So if that makes sense, hopefully it makes sense. But you're basically taking those champs out of the pool so that you'll have a higher chance of getting the champ that you need. So for example, again, we used Warwick with a 1-cost unit. You would buy all the 1-cost units that you have space for, re-roll, and then if you still have space on your board, buy all the 1-cost units, re-roll, and you just keep doing this until you find the unit you need. If you see something you like, then sell some of the units on your board and continue the process. But again, what you're trying to do is you're just trying to maximize your odds of getting the unit that you need. I know that's a lot of vocab there, but if you think about it, it makes sense, and it's just best practices. I don't do it all the time because that's a lot of things to click and press all at once. But if you can do it, that's the most optimal way to make sure, or to increase your chances of getting the unit that you want. The other tactic I have is that if you have the gold for it, we talked about this, Kevin talked about this before, but if you have the gold for it, specifically when you're trying to hit level level 4, right before the PvE round, if you have a pretty good synergy and you have the 4 gold, go ahead and upgrade to level 4. It'll give you an advantage to have 40 units. Also, it'll line up perfectly to after the first or second carousel, you'll be able to upgrade again to level 5. And so when you have exactly 4 gold, you just upgrade. Go ahead.
Usually I like to upgrade even if I have to lose 1 interest. I think upgrading, put an extra unit to either preserve a win streak or have a higher chance of winning is worth it, because if you win, you're getting back that 1 gold anyway. So it's not really that big of a sacrifice to put in an extra unit if you have to spend like 10 gold to get it.
Perfect. Another tip is, like, let's say you're on the cusp of that interest breakpoint, right? Let's say you're at 39 gold, right, at the end of the round, and you didn't win the round. If there is a 1-cost unit that you don't really need, or if you're just saving it to possibly 3-star, it might be worth it to sell that unit before that round actually ends, so that you hit that 40, that 40 gold, so that you get that interest breakpoint, so you get that extra gold, because it's really important. On the flip side, let's say you're at 39 gold before the round starts. Don't sell a unit right away. Wait to see how the match ends, because you may win, and if you win, you get the 1 gold after you win the round, so you wouldn't have to sell anything. So basically the moral is play after the round is over still too.
The same thing for early PvE rounds, when you still have a chance to get gold from them. The amount of times that I've sold units to buy something else and then gotten gold from the round anyway.
Yeah.
It's too many times. So
yep.
So
all right.
Remember that you don't always have to sell your units, even if you want to buy something.
Exactly. All right, well, that's all the tips I have for now. There was other strategies I want to talk about, but we'll leave that for another time. If you guys got tips and want to submit them to for our viewers and listeners, then feel free to email us at the allinpodcast@gmail.com. Nighthawk, did you have any last thoughts, tips, tricks, words of wisdom for everybody out there?
It's always been fun coming on the podcast, so thank you for having me.
Great. Hey guys, thank you again for hanging out and listening. If you have any suggestions, please, we'd love to hear it. Again, we're also looking for co-hosts. So any of that stuff, if you want to communicate to us, the allinpodcast@gmail.com or tweet us at the allinpodcast. Guys, until next time, enjoy your climb on the Rift or in Teamfight Tactics, and try not to tilt too hard. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.